All right. Well, I'm here with Amy, and Amy, I feel like we've been having a conversation now for a couple of weeks back and forth on TikTok. So I want to quickly introduce what kind of conversation this is. This is what I call a living library conversation, introducing the concept of how to be a good human book and how to be a good human reader. So what I'm going to just do, Amy, is I'm just going to ask you questions and listen to wherever the energy takes you, wherever, whatever you want to describe. And my job as a reader is to reflect back what resonates with me, what I appreciate. If there's something that comes up that's uncomfortable for me, I might ask a clarifying question about it. So, like I said before I started the recording, it's all you, and I'm just going to let you take it. So, really, the question I like to start out with on these conversations is if you were a book, what would the title be, or what might the title be? And what are some of the themes, or what are some of the highlights of that book that you feel called to express right now in this moment? And we'll go for an hour.
Okay, well, it'll probably take you an hour. No, just joking.
Honestly, you and I could probably talk for a couple of hours and it feel like it go by like nothing. But
Yeah.
yeah, just so what comes up for you when it comes to being a human book?
Well, I am a human book.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. The concept is having a title. I don't like titles or labels, period.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I'm not
struggle
that.
with that too. I struggle with that too. Yes.
I'm me. And whatever that me is not the name that my parents gave me.
Mm,
So, and I don't label it because it changes so often. I think um, as we go through our lives, we have so many roles, we're learning so much. Um, and we're forgetting a lot. So,
mhm, yes.
you know, I remember being a kid and going up to my mother and saying, this world is all about vibrations and frequencies. I was
Mhm.
4. It was
Mm,
like I, I knew I chose to be here. I would have conversations with mirrors with people I saw, but nobody else did because I supposedly had dyslexia and I saw differently than everybody else did. I saw um, things that weren't visible for normal people because they had a filter already in place, which I never did. So the spectrums of light look different. I love art because of that. Um, I could see auras like no other, and I could tell the person is approachable or not just by being looking at them. Um, I use my telepathy, and I didn't even know I had telepathy. I mean, I was not formally trained until I was like 44, when I got caught cheating on cards, supposedly, because I knew what they had, and I maneuvered it, and I won games and stuff like that. And I just thought, "Ooh, I can win! Yay!" Just being a normal human. So if I had to have a title, it's to be the best human you can, because that's where we're at. I really don't like going to past lives and saying who I was before and what planet I lived and all that, because it really doesn't matter. That's in the past. I like to focus on the future because I'm trying to create my heaven on earth. Or maybe it should be like a portion on how to create your heaven on earth, because really, we've been hit so hard not to believe in our own selves, to believe in something else that is outside of ourselves when we know better. I remember being 8 years old when the seatbelt law passed. That tells you how old I am, okay?
mhm, yeah.
I knew, I'm like, oh, we just gave our rights away.
Mm,
Even the humanity of the seatbelt law is a good thing, but it did take some freedom of choice in
yeah.
that. And I knew that at 8, that I'm like, okay, now we're going to have more population.
Mhm,
And for some reason, I knew that was going to be a problem later in life. And here
mhm,
we are in 2024, and we have a population problem,
mhm, mhm,
which is kind of ironic. Um, I didn't understand a lot of my growing up and the things that happened to me. I saw a lot of different things. Do I believe in aliens? Yes, of course, because I believe in other beings because I can see them, you know? Now, do I see them like I used to when I was a kid when it scared me? No, I programmed that. And we can be programmed. We all have these skills. I'm no different than nobody else.
Mhm.
I'm just based on trauma, based on my experience of life. I had to use them more than most,
Mhm.
meaning
Mhm.
I held the space longer, well, let me say, all my life. So I'm constantly scanning every 3 minutes.
Mhm.
And if you notice, like my aura will go in and out when I'm scanning, when
Mhm.
I'm in
Hmm.
perception, you know?
Okay. Mhm.
And it is a trigger. It's trauma that I constantly am checking my surroundings to say is
Mhm.
not to be in that fight and flight stage that
Right.
we always get into. Um, I don't believe in this ego business that the spirituality. I know there's a lot of traps in the
Mhm.
spirituality. I fall for majority of them. I would say I
Mm.
have participated in every single one of them
Mhm.
and
Mm.
learned that what it was for, you know.
Cool.
There's learning lessons with traps, but
Mhm.
people get stuck on the traps, and that's the
Mhm.
sad thing. They stop growing after they find a duality, and they don't challenge themselves. And I'm
Right.
constantly challenging myself and doing things I didn't think I could do, and
Mhm.
having that
Amy,
all, yeah.
let's pause for a moment. I
Okay.
want to reflect back here too, because what's exciting me is that a lot of a lot of the people that I've been speaking with, especially being on the board and being on the leadership of a spiritual community as well too, is having conversations about these gifts and not really seeing them as anything abnormal or seeing them as anything that can't be accessed. So where I'm feeling like what would be a good place to say skip ahead to the next chapter of the book. What are the traps? So what are the traps that
Oh
you
my
have
gosh,
noticed?
there are so
Yeah.
many
Hmm.
that's not even funny. First, when you first waken up, right? We
Hmm.
fall in the trap of I know everything because I I got all these revelations and I know it all, and my truth is your truth and there's nothing else but that truth. And that's a trap because then you are stuck in that domain or that plane where you can't hear anything else. You can't experience anything else. You're in a bubble and you have not allowed yourself to go past that bubble. It's like kindergarten, right? You know, some of us have to repeat it twice. Some of us blow right through. It's like, the school of life when you start having it. There's some fear when you first go into kindergarten, when you leave your mother for the first time. You remember that? You don't know what to expect. So some people get stuck there, in the fear because they don't want, that means that they would have to get out of their comfort zone. And um, it takes courage for people to enhance themselves with the gifts because it can be scary if don't have understanding of uh, things. And when I hear people like talk about, oh, when I was a kid, I had so many demons and stuff like shadow people and everything like that. Well, yeah, I did too, and it scared me um, for a little bit, and then I just, for some reason, stopped fearing and became fearless. And I would go up to them, and I'm like, "You're not supposed to be here. This is my plane. Go." And they would leave. And I didn't know what I was freaking doing. Nobody
Hmm.
gave me a book on this. It's just like when you have a baby, you know, the doctor doesn't give you, Dr. Spock tried to do his due diligence,
Yeah.
trying to write the book, but really each individual kid is different. I had four
Mhm.
of them, and none of them were the same. I thought, okay, after the fourth, I got it.
Mhm.
No, no, it doesn't work that way. We're all
Right.
different.
Right.
So,
Can we
um,
rewind a moment, Amy? So you had that experience where you had the courage. Yeah, and like you said, you didn't receive a book on how to develop that courage and how to go up to that entity and speak in that way. Going back to that moment, what do you attribute to having the courage to take that first step to do that then?
my faith in God.
Okay. Tell me about your faith in God. How did that come to be?
I knew God existed before my parents even knew God existed. Okay. I remember being four. See, I have an excellent memory. I can remember all the way back to 6 months old, being in a crib with my brother, trying to get ready for school and my mother going crazy, So I have a very good memory. So when I was around four, before my brother or my little brother died, I knew God existed. Um, and and I had an experience when I was four when he did die, that I thought was an angel, but I'm not quite sure anymore as I get older because I'm looking like that angel. Okay. So I think when I went to heal myself, I actually came as myself and gave me the information I needed to, which gave me a clue in this version of this timeline is how I am going to put it. That's the only way I could put it. Um, Now that's a concept that is so huge that it's really hard for people to understand. So I make it very, very simple so people can understand. I am not using the correct terminology though. I know there's another word for it. But it's the closest I can get because now I could jump. I'm going to probably jump to a lot of different things. That's how I work.
Please do.
Um, so when we're talking timelines and stuff like that, how I read is I stay in my now and I can kind of look back behind me and see the branches that I came from. And it looks like the tree of life to me. I call it the tree of life, which is not a terminology that people use. They think it's like a tree and you bite a fruit. No, I don't think so. I think it's our
So if I may, I'll
yeah.
put a little context in here as well too
Okay.
about the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. So what you're saying resonates with me because within the tree of life, what that path of thought believes is that there is a direct connection to God, a direct connection to source, so that you do not need an intermediate, an
Right.
intermediary. You are connected. And when I'm hearing about the branches of the tree of life and the timelines, I'm reminded that there's parallel realities. There's a multiverse. There's all kinds of different realities, and being in the now is connecting back to God, connecting back to source. The tree of knowledge, which is the knowledge of good and evil, is
Right.
duality. Yeah,
Yeah.
where there is needed an emissary or an intermediary to make things right between you and God. That's how we came up with this whole this Christian theology that you need to be saved by Jesus Christ and all of that. So it's not necessarily wrong, but it's
No.
just it's just in it's just a reflection of the tree of knowledge, which is about duality and navigating duality, where the tree of life is more reflective of the law of divine oneness, that there is no need for a middleman.
And they intertwine. They're both the same tree. And if you want to look at your body, it is your nervous system, is all the timelines that you go through the past that you can actually see what you're feeding is what or where I know to go when I'm reading somebody. The thicker the branch is, the more you're feeding that branch. And that's more likely your timeline that you're going to go to. Um, Now you have slivers of timelines all over, like little hairs. And if you think about your anatomy, um, a thought process looks like a seed. Okay. So, in a new neuron, when it grows from your brain, in your brain, is a new tree branch. So, where's the trunk? Where's God? Well, it's your whole endo system because I'm not reading outside myself. I'll tell you right now, I cannot read outside myself. I'm really good at energy coming into me and understanding it, but I don't read outside of me anymore. Um, I read my body. I am the human library. I can, tap. I, I'm not a physicist. I never studied this shit. This is all coming from with my blood and my cells that have already had this knowledge prior to when I was born. And I'm just tapping into what I got. Because, um, now if you knew in my background, I couldn't read until I was 27 years old because my dyslexia was so bad that the words will come down like rain. And I think it was a blessing. Reason being is because if I was academical, I would have more programming that I would have to leave. I wouldn't be the free thinker. I wouldn't have to change stuff to understand it on my own plane. And it made me a better observer of my own needs, as well as I can catch what people need at the time that they need it. I can adapt to what is necessary to communicate and to be able to touch them and trigger something within inside themselves that sparks their own light. Um, and that's one of my biggest blessings was what everybody says was really bad for me. No,
Hmm.
as I'm going through it, if I could look back, I didn't understand it. I didn't, I remember going to the mirror and giving myself pep talks and not knowing that that was the right thing to do
Hmm.
according to psychologists, you
Hmm.
know, um, being my best friend, you
Hmm.
know, and already started this process throughout my whole entire life. I got to know me very well, you know, and knowing my energy and understanding, okay, when I feel this, it means this. I'm making my own dictionary of information so I can understand what I'm receiving. And, if a scholar comes into my presence and our auras meet, I pick up on exactly the conversation he wants to have, and I can hold a pretty good, intelligent conversation, not knowing anything about the subject, which is kind of weird, right? You wonder why you do what you do.
Hmm.
And shoot, and if you ask, you'll find the answer.
Hmm.
You'll, your own intellect will tell you,
Yeah.
you know, kind of thing. So I've always had the understanding that I am the living library.
Hmm.
The experiences I have is just what I put into this body and my genetics code, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
And I'm actually tacking into creation when I speak from source, when I get out of my own way.
Hmm.
I never have thought before. I mean, I used to try to think what people would want me to say. That would get me in the way, and I would have stuttering problems and I would have
Hmm.
issues writing and everything like that. But when I found out, I think I got fed up enough
Hmm.
to try it one more time my way.
Hmm. Hmm.
It all clicked. It was like I was able to breathe. It was
Yes.
like a new skin
Hmm.
that didn't bother me with everybody else and
Yeah.
how they did it. And I knew judgment, I went to church. It was my savior when I was younger.
Hmm.
And I've been into a lot of religions actually
Hmm.
because I was trying to find God outside myself. And even though the Bible was telling me, hey, look within, look within, look within, um, I knew I couldn't worship, and this is gonna, probably be some, I couldn't worship Jesus
Hmm.
because I wanted to be Jesus.
Hmm. Yeah.
That was my main goal. I wanted to use 110% of my brain
Hmm.
capacity, and I wanted to be like Jesus and give miracles to people,
Hmm. Hmm.
and give them their way out of the spiritual traps that we are in.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing that I wanted to
And
do.
I want to interject as well too. When you get back to some of the Gnostic texts, the texts that were not approved at the Council of Nicaea, if you want to accept Jesus as the original root of Jesus's teaching, he wanted you to be him. I mean, in the Gnostic text, they say, "He who drinks from my mouth shall become as me, and I will become like them, and secrets will be known to them." So it's a two-way street.
Right.
What that passage tells me is that Jesus wasn't looking to be, a
Worshipped.
figurehead or worshipped or anything. He was trying to spread the knowledge where he wanted you to perform miracles. There was another passage that says, "Whatever I have done, you will do and more."
More. Yeah.
So yeah, so
I will
yeah,
move,
so
or you would say the mountain will move, it will move,
mhm, mhm,
and I truly believed that with all my heart when I was a kid. So
mhm,
I would take science because I really like science. I
mhm,
mean, I'm an alchemist. I alchemist energy. Just
mhm,
being around me, you're in a better mood because I don't know. There's just something about me that does it. And I don't have to do anything. I don't have to think about it. I think it's more survival because I had to make sure my mom stayed on this earth because she was so depressed.
mhm,
I could explain it away, you know, how I have these abilities and why I have the abilities now that I didn't used to have before. I was just doing. And I was never told that I couldn't do it.
mhm.
So I
Yeah.
did it. Like, and I would scare people. That gave me a reaction because that was not my intent to do at all. I remember being 12 and having a birthday party, and I snapped my fingers and the lights turned off. And they're like, before the clapper, okay?
Yeah.
And as soon as that happened, I felt everybody's terrified of me,
Mm.
the terror. And I'm like, I knew what I did, and I meant to do it that way. I thought everybody else could do it,
Mm.
you know? And so I shut that down. Can I do it today? No, no, no. I haven't given myself permission yet because I don't think it's a safe place to do.
Right.
If I
Mhm.
started moving things and everything like that, they would think Jesus come again and it's a female. And no, that's not what this is about. It would distort what the true message is to find you,
Exactly. Yeah.
and that's the reason why I built my business, the art of becoming you. I'm
Hmm.
an artist. I see things differently than others. And there is a process in this. I hate to say enlightenment because I really don't believe in that word.
Hmm.
Enlightenment is when you're dead, guys. We do not want enlightenment in on this earth. And it is a buzzword that was popular, socially popular because it's misunderstood,
Yes. Hmm.
and it's throwing people off the path. It's
Hmm.
another trap that
Hmm.
people follow into. I
Yeah.
mean, all you have to do is be you and not judge anybody. And if as long as you know how to love you, then you can love everybody else. And I've had this conversation, on the video, I make this
Hmm.
comment all the time,
Yeah.
is that if you can find out how you love
Mhm.
and you could see yourself in somebody else, then there should never be any conflict because you don't want conflict with yourself. I
Mhm.
mean, that's unhealthy, right? And you got
Mhm.
some more work to do if you feel in conflict with yourself, if
Right.
somebody's triggering you.
Hmm.
Um, because all we can do is control us.
Hmm.
right? I remember my parents always saying they were in Amway. I can't make you do anything. I can't make you do anything. And I'm like, you can't. You told me I have to do this, 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 or
Hmm.
I get in
Hmm.
trouble.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand the concept, but now I understand. I
Hmm.
can't, I can't make anybody do anything. I can be the example for somebody to want to do something. That's the biggest key is the want for the other person to spark them to want something different in their lives, and that's the best thing. I love having our conversations too, on TikTok when we're doing the questions because as I told you before, I was looking, I got type, I always ask for the last 3, 4 years, I've been asking myself questions, um, to try to maneuver my life. And I was getting bored with it. It's like I kept on asking the same question over and over and over again. And I couldn't quite get over the hump. I knew it wasn't, I'm just like, I'm repeating cycles here. I understood what I was doing. And I'm like, I'm not getting the answers I want. I wonder if I have to have a different perception come in and ask me the question. And you served that need. As soon as I asked for it, you showed up and I took it on without permission. But I was doing it on my own. I'm like, this is good stuff. I'm gonna put it out there because I not only am I watching it twice or 2 times or how many
Hmm.
ever times I have to watch it to hear it and
Hmm.
digest the information. Um, I'm basically talking to me,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, and
Hmm.
that's right the reason why I love this forum. But I
Hmm.
like it better when I have somebody else on the other line
Absolutely. Yeah. That's
because
what it's about. Hmm.
it doesn't feel like preaching. I'm not
Right.
trying to preach.
Hmm.
I have no desire to tell you how to run your life. I want you to
Hmm.
know how to run your life. And
Yes.
I want you to be strong enough and have the courage enough when people give you backlash for it that you're going to be okay.
Hmm.
You know, I think my life has definitely gave me thick skin
Hmm.
with that,
Hmm.
not having, you know, people think much of what I do or when I'm
Yes, I understand that. Hmm.
in their presence, they don't realize until after I leave how
Hmm.
blessed they were to have me in their world.
Hmm.
And I know that sounds a little narcissistic. I think that's how that word my daughter likes to throw out a lot.
Mm.
And I think that's a buzzword that,
Hmm.
if we talk mental health, I got 4 kids that
Hmm.
have mental health issues, supposedly.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
had some, and I blame myself a lot of times for that. Um, or I'm gonna reword that because I don't blame myself anymore.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Okay.
used to blame myself for that issue because I wasn't healed from
Hmm.
all the trauma before. I didn't know how to heal myself. I knew I couldn't talk to somebody about
Hmm.
it without reliving it and re-traumatizing and going
Mm.
through the cycles
Hmm.
again.
Right. Hmm.
Um, so therapy didn't work for me, although I did 15 years of it,
Hmm.
which is ironic. And I think that it helped me understand me and
Hmm.
what not to do. It helped me give me some concept, but I didn't diagnose myself either.
Hmm.
I think it was just a process. And I think people put too much emphasis on labels and problems, and they're not problems. They're obstacles, maybe, but not
Hmm.
problems. There's nothing
Hmm.
broken about you.
Hmm.
If you're going through depression, it just means that you think that you have more potential than you're giving out.
Mm.
So you
Okay.
need a
Okay.
deep trust. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because this is my version of the
Hmm.
reason why I was depressed. Okay.
Hmm. Sure. Hmm.
And you need the deep rest to reset. Reason why you want to sleep all the time is because you're so consciously knowing, subconsciously knowing that you need to reset.
Hmm.
And for like that first 20 minutes that you're up, you notice how life is so much different.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yep. Hmm.
and then one thing happens and you go back in
Hmm.
where you have to reset again. So, I mean, I did it for several years, so I know about that.
Hmm.
And the cycles that we play with our mind, with the ego.
Hmm.
We need ego. I don't know why people are saying, let's kill the ego. No, you can't
Mm,
kill the ego. You got to get them on board with you. That's all. You got to work
yeah.
as a team.
Yeah.
You're in control. You're the puppet master, dudes. You, you're the observer of your thoughts. If you have any, some people don't have thoughts like me. I don't have thoughts. There's nothing going on here. So I'm a hard read because if you're telepathy or using your telepathy, you ain't getting nothing. You have to go somewhere else to get my information. And because I don't even know what I'm going to say before I say it, it just comes out.
Yeah, that's where I feel comfortable as well too. But yeah, no, I'm glad that you're referencing your experience with therapy as well too, because that's one of the areas where I dwell quite a bit is at the intersection of spirituality and mental health, and really just getting past the stories that we tell ourselves, about other people,
Mhm.
about different people, and really kind of pull out our own judgments and get back to the feeling. So to me, everything is energy, and if someone is not in a good relationship with themselves, if they're uncomfortable with feelings of anger and fear and sadness and all of that, um, it's what we do in our work with the bullying and the suicide
Mhm.
is we talk to those feelings as if they were people, and
Yeah.
the messages that they have, and we try to
The
treat
inner
them like
child work,
friends.
right? I
Yeah,
mean,
treat them like friends. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
inner child work.
Hmm.
Yeah. And people said, like when you do mirror work,
Hmm.
definitely for a bullying situation, I would suggest every kid that has been bullied to get a mirror. And that's the person that the one that you're looking into is going to be your best friend. And that's the one that if you need to tell somebody something's to the situation, just because a lot of times you got to get it out or you store it in your body. And it comes back with a revengeance. It seems like three times worse if you just deal with it right here and then. But if you'd be your cheerleader, your coach, the person that you need them to be, as well as you to be at the same time, and you can get through anything. Um, I went 18 years too, being bullied, and even past, I just ignored it as I got older. You know, I just I thought I was a martyr for a long time. It's like the world was shitty, and I was the one that people shit on. That's the way I thought, and I didn't understand my role because I didn't have one because I didn't have enough you know value to take a breath, let alone be in the same space as somebody. They always knew more than I did because I was told that way, right? But deep down inside, there was this part of me that said, they're wrong, they're wrong. And that's where you got to listen to is that real deep down side voice that says, it's very, very quiet. It doesn't yell at you. It doesn't, you know, you can survive it, anything that happens to you, you know? Um, I've been left for dead, you know? I had my best friend try to kill me for money. It's like you could survive, and I still love her. You could still, be the best version of you. If you can just listen to that inner voice within inside yourself and not let the chaos around you play the role. Does that make sense? I hope I answered.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just want to make a little mention here too that I'm glad you mentioned that that incident about your friend, because I know quite a few people who are going through that kind of a situation right now, and it's hard to understand it. And there are systemic, and my daughter's has a lot to say about it too, it sounds like. But there is yeah, there's a lot going on energetically, a lot systemically. There are forces that are for and against the work that we're doing and creating heaven on earth.
Right.
And so I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I do know friends that will resonate with that. And if one of those friends are watching this, then they might want to connect with you.
Oh,
what
sure.
would be what would be your advice, or how would you prefer to be approached if someone wanted to talk to you further about something like that?
Well, they could always do email, um, or yeah, I don't really want to put my phone number on the line, but you could search me and under my old business. It seems like Divine works weird. I haven't had a website in a long, long time, and people are still finding me today, you know, to get my telephone number to call. But if you Google me in the Virginia area, you'll find me that way. But uh, the art of becoming you at gmail.com is the best way to get a hold of me. The advice I would give that person is take a step back. Don't take it personally. You have to look at their circumstance. At least in my experience with she was my best friend for 12 years. We had a business together. I mean, I called her more like my soul sister than anybody. I mean, I had this connection with this woman. She would yell my name. I would hear it clear across the country. She's the one that sparked things in me. I was a very good guesser for her. I'll put it that way. Because I had no clue what I was doing. I just, it would come out, and boom, all of a sudden I'm right. So I created that, right? To some extent, when we speak it into existence, supposedly. That's a whole another, I mean, topic we can go down at a later time, but you have to actually come from their point of view. You have to know how desperate they would have to be, because I felt like me and her were the same. That was my residence with her. Obviously, she didn't have that because my life was okay to leave, but I also thought there was other energies at play. You know, we are so easily manipulated. And with negative thoughts, I've watched it over and over in my practice. I'm like, I have to tell people, quit listening to the outside voice inside your head or outside your head, and these little thoughts that are right here, they're not you. This is energy you're picking up. And sometimes, the frequency, we're tuned into the wrong channel. Um, and they're not real. It's an illusion. And she could have had that happen to her. And I understood that. I don't think in her heart of heart, I saw the good in her. You know, I saw me in her, and I loved her and still do, even though she didn't deserve it. You know, it is what it is, and you have to accept it that, she got to that point. And I have so much compassion for her because I could have put her in jail. I mean, I had proof of everything. And I didn't go down that road because she had 6 other kids. And I knew how desperate she was and her life circumstances. And I'm like, you're going to create your own hell. And unfortunately, I can't watch it because it would hurt so much that I can't help you help yourself. I'm not equipped. At that time, I was not equipped to help her. And I even reached back out to her a couple of years ago to see how she was doing. And she was living her hell and tried to comfort her, but got slapped in the face. Like, that's not the, you know, because that's just the type of person I am. I treat others as I want to be treated, and that means they get multiple chances. It's not three strikes, you're out. It's more like 125. And then I decide, maybe I should rethink this for myself. But now it's a little sooner. I mean, that's the old me. This is the new me, kind of thing. Because I'm growing and I'm learning every day what is acceptable and not acceptable for myself. And I think that's the whole point of being on this earth and co-creating it is allowing yourself to F up all the time and be okay, just as long as you learn. Of course, make apologies. I've apologized to my kids, every single one of them. One, I wasn't healed at the time I had them. I did a lot of damage then because I didn't know any better. It doesn't matter if I didn't know any better. I still did it. So I have to atone to that. I took responsibility of it. I took accountability of it. And that's some things I see in my observation of this world outside of myself is taking accountability and responsibility for your own being. We want to blame everybody. It seemed like in the 80s, everybody wanted to be a victim. And we just latched onto that and haven't stopped. I mean, there's a lot of people that have tried to get out of it, but in some aspects, they're not out of it because now they're blaming the government and social, society and everything. But it all comes rolling back into this package that we have. Um, and if you don't take accountability, people thought it was crazy when I got sexually molested that I took 10% of the responsibility of that act. Only because I needed to control something in my healing process. And if I can control or if I can accept and take accountability for 10%, not that it was, I deserved it, I didn't, not that um, they didn't deserve punishment or, I'm getting them off the hook or, when you're a victim and you try to idolize no. I took 10% for me. One, because I allowed it to go on. Okay. I could have screamed. I could have yelled. I could have done something. I could have, right after the act, I could have tried to get somebody to listen. Um, but intuitively, when I did tell, I got what my biggest fear was. I got slapped in my face, I got slapped in the face of, back then we didn't know about sexual abuse or, that kind of stuff and how to handle it. That was all new territory that they got into in, I think, late, you know, early 93 90s, when we started having that movement that, hey, that's not right. But I got to see the whole cycle aspect of sexual abuse. And I think that was my cycle that I had to break. At least that's my understanding of why it happened in my life, kind of thing. Um, and I used to analyze everything. I was an analyzer, I would repeat conversations I would have and, oh, how could I have done that better? How could I have, maneuver it so the outcome was different and view it differently. Um, and then I found out that, that depends on which timeline you go. And I didn't know what I was doing at the time I was analyzing. Now we think that we're doing different scenarios, but we're not. We're looking at timelines. And we're able to discern which timeline we want to go through. Okay, well, if I can accept that that's the way I should have handled that, then I could jump into this timeline. It has a better outcome. It's smoother than keeping in the timeline that I am in and have to face that that dread, that feeling of dread of knowing better and you did wrong anyway kind of thing. So, I mean, life reviews really have helped. And I've done like 7 years of analyzing my life and understanding, okay, how did my gifts work? Why did they work? Doing the shadow work, okay, why did I get triggered? Following it all the way back for a belief system that was even not even true for me. I took it on for somebody else, and I'm like, okay, I got to forgive it, release it, give that inner child that love. And how did I get here? That's what I keep on hearing. How did I get here where I am right now?
Mhm.
And I think it has a lot to do with my faith. I have faith more than a mustard seed, maybe. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I think always wanting to improve yourself, always wanting to show up 110% in the moment, and taking accountability and responsibility for what I've done in this world. Good, bad, doesn't matter, you know? If the judgment is correct, I will be proud to go, yeah, I did that, you know, even if it was bad to the God. Yep, I learned a lot from that one, you know, and I can verbalize it now. And I think that's the reason why I can help so many people is like, I'm like, oh yeah, I've done that. Yep, yeah, it was a trap. I'll just let you know, re- try to steer you a different direction because it's like, oh my gosh.
Uh, yeah, no, what comes up for me, Amy, too, with a lot of the people that I am friends with and have confided in me is that there is this exploration of why there are traps in place. Why, what is the reason for the traps? I had a friend whose brother was murdered a couple of weeks ago, and she has always been one who has been kind of bringing to light corruption, bringing to light, some of the abuses of power. So, yeah, what comes up for me around this taking accountability is being able to, being able to take responsibility for the learning
Hmm.
and for taking responsibility for the part you do play. And that's a very fine line between, victim, being
Hmm.
victim and being in receipt or receiving the, the abuse or being in an abusive type of dynamic. Um, and yeah, no, yeah, there's a lot coming on. There's a lot of energy in my world right now. My daughter is pulling my string and pulling that. But yeah, it's kind of like how to get in the middle of that and have those feelings so that it does connect you back to source or to God or
Right.
to to whatever, that you were never alone.
Well,
I, yep. Mhm.
my understanding is that the reason why there's traps is because only the pure heart, only not everybody can do it. Not everybody's going to do it. And that's a sad thing. I think everybody should do it, but you know, my reality is totally different than everyone else's. But if I create my reality and I have the power to create that, then of course I'm going to choose everybody having this ability to get out of the traps and to become more like Jesus or, their God. And I think the conspiracy, if everybody knew the power that they have with inside themselves to create reality, then of course, whatever is out there that is stopping or put us in this experiment is what I'm going to call it, the social experiment, will under or don't want to loosen the reins. um, because we're giving them something, we're feeding them. There is a need that we feed. And as soon as you realize, I mean, it's just like when you have a predator, you know, and you're the victim, you're feeding a niche. Now, what is the victim learning? The victim's learning their power to stop it. That's how I see it. That it's all within inside of ourselves, to be able to stand up, use the voice, use our energy to attract the real world that we want. Because if quantum physics, now you have to remember, I knew about quantum physics before there was quantum physics because I'm that old. Okay. But if there is multiple dimensions, because we can't say for sure, right? Nothing's for sure. Nothing's concrete, except that you're here. You're pinching yourself, you're here. You feel something, right? That's concrete. But if we are creating our own reality, it's based on our belief system. What we believe can happen. Now, we have so many limitations on ourselves just by our language alone. You know, I hated going by a psychic medium because I'm more than that. I had somebody say that, label me as a holy or a hollow. I'm sorry, holy, a hollow. I'm like, I don't know what that means, you know, and according to them, it just means that I don't have thought processes. I'm like, well, what does that mean? I know I'm here because I'm observing everything happening to me. I'm not reactive. Let's talk about reaction, okay? Because a lot of people like to react and they're not being the observer. When you're an observer, you're in your power. When you're reacting, you give your power away. And when you go for fighting, and I don't mean, even if you're doing it for the good intentions, when you go there, you're in reaction mode. You're in survival. You're not thriving unless you're one of the captains and you know exactly what you're doing and you're willing to sacrifice life for the main bigger picture. And I think, and I try not to judge that. I have a real hard time stepping out of that, to be honest, because I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers. I'm still learning. I'm still bettering myself as well. I'm going to tell you right now, I have a hard time not judging that because in my world, in my utopia that I'm creating,